Hey everyone, this is Wiz. What's up? Thank you for tuning in. If you were with me last time, we were talking about untangibles, kind of a historical framework. We talked about the fact that the economy used to be tangible and it was just physical labor, and then it was physical labor or intellectual labor, with intellectual labor making much more money than physical labor. And how I believe that now we're moving into a combination of physical labor, intellectual labor, and emotional labor, or untangible labor, and that untangible labor will be the highest compensated labor in the economy. Why do I think that? You can't automate emotional labor. You can't automate artistry. You can try. You can't. It's not. It's much more difficult than intellectual labor, which is computer coding or design or anything like that. Emotional labor, where the people who are purchasing it are judging you based on the emotions that arise in them, is much harder to automate. It's also much harder to outsource. You can outsource coding and legal work and that kind of thing to India, to China, to places where they have people who go to college. That's not that big of a deal. It's much harder to outsource, say, video production or story writing or storytelling or social media feeds, things where people have to relate and have to have an emotional connection and an emotional bond. It's much harder to outsource and it's much harder to fake. So it's hard to have computers do it, and it's hard to have people who don't live in that community do it. I'm not saying that people in India aren't going to be great at making social media and things that culture for people in India. They obviously will be. Um, and in a way, we're starting to see the untangible economy unfold already. A lot of the a lot of our yoga classes and a lot of our coffee purchases, t-shirt purchases, the resurgence in like toys for adults, figures and so forth. A lot of that stuff is really it's our hunger for high quality untangibles. Untangibles meaning emotional content. It's our desire for high quality emotional content, filtered through the older forms of the economy, filtered through products, filtered through intellectual services, experiences, and so forth. But what we're going towards and what we're boiling this all down to is um, is just pure emotional content. Literally, to the point where, literally, if you can sit down with me without me talking, like Marina Abramovich or whatever the woman's name is, who just looks, the artist who just looks at you, who's in Jay-Z's Picasso Baby. If I can deliver you the emotional feels that you want just through a look, even if it's a look online or a video or whatever, then I deserve to be paid for that. If I can deliver an emotional state that you find desirable, whether or not I'm using my mind, whether or not I'm intellectually serious or have a capacity, I deserve to be compensated for that. Um, and right now it's cat videos, and there are going to be cat videos around for the foreseeable future. But eventually, people are going to want to know what's going on with their own life. They're going to want Facebook feeds, Tumblrs, Twitter feeds, um, that speak to them in a very direct and meaningful way. Right now, they're getting some of that, and they're getting it for free, right? People like me primarily do what we do for free. We love it, and if it's social media based, then we're just borderline homeless or broke or whatever. A lot of the people, most of the people I know who are really serious about using social media as their platform and their medium in which they create, are broke, homeless, living with parents, or some sort of housing and um, stability, instability, I guess you could call it. They're asking for pizzas online and so forth because they don't have food in their house. But yet they They deliver a service that gets everyone else on their feed who up and back to work the next day, right? They're doing triage, they're fixing people up, they're giving people hope in their life, they're giving people joy, and then they're sending them back to work the next day, where that joy is leveraged and is sucked out of them by capitalism or multinationals or whatever. That's not because multinationals or capitalism is bad. That's because multinationals and capitalism have not yet learned to value untangibles. Untangibles is not about paying freaky artists. That's one aspect of it. Untangibles is about the global economy learning to value the heart, learning to value the spirit, learning to value how people feel. Right now, the economy doesn't care if your vice president is happy or sad. Doesn't care. Doesn't affect the performance. In fact, if he needs to relax to be happy, then it would rather have him sad or her. Um, we don't have emotions are not built into our value propositions from our brands. They're not built into our shopping patterns. And why is this? Okay, this isn't just that people are mean or people or whatever. This is because we do not value pleasure in ourselves. The Americans, white Americans especially, come from a Protestant mindset, a puritanical mindset, following the Protestant work ethic and the critical method. So you have an economy based, and they call the world's most successful economies Protestant economies for a reason. And I am a WASP. I'm a proud Protestant, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. They call the world's most successful economies Protestant economies for a reason. We can be unhappy longer and get the job done better in many cases because we do not value pleasure. We think that pleasure is a sin. In our religion, pleasure is a sin, and it's up to you to police pleasure in yourself, to destroy pleasure, to shame pleasure, to reduce the pleasure in your life. True story, when I was in my 20s, I became a vegetarian because I thought I should say no to more things. Literally. I was not saving the animals. I thought it was going to help the world politically, but literally I just thought I'd be a better person if I said no more to more things. Like if I was just more difficult and more... It sounds so crazy to say it. If I was just more difficult and like less happy, essentially. I loved meat. I still love meat. If I was just less happy, that the world would be a better place. That literally my politics were the less happy I am, the better the world is. And that's, that's the environmental movement. That's don't consume anything, don't watch TV. Books are better for you than TV. White people have a whole thing around pleasure, and it is absolutely a religion. Do not ever tell me it's not a religion. Do not ever tell me it's not a religion. It is emotional and spiritual values that we have pounded into dogma and we now believe as literal facts. We literally think that repression and ceasing consumption will save the world, which is false. That will not save the world. That's what's destroying the world. Because you cannot produce without consumption. It is a scientific and a mathematical impossibility. You cannot make a bicycle without steel, rubber, aluminum, brake pads, bar tape, screws. You can't do it. You cannot do it. A human being cannot eliminate anything without first eating. You must eat first. And by the way, that shows us what our focus is, right? Our focus is not on eating. We do not believe we are what we eat. We believe we are what we shit. And I rarely swear, but I will say it for this to make a point. If you believe, even as an artist, even as a hippie weirdo artist, liberal, if you believe that you are what you produce, you are what you do at work, you are what your paintings look like, you are as good as your songs, that is identifying with your shit. You are not what you shit. You are what you eat. You are what you consume. We have it backwards. Both Republicans and Democrats worship at the altar of production. And both are arguing that their method of production is right and the other person's method of production is wrong. They both use production. If worshiping production and demonizing consumption worked, we would be saved by now. We would be safe by now. We would have no fears. No one would be poor. No one would be unhappy. There was this guy in Time magazine a couple years ago. He did an article about depression. He's an expert, a depression expert, who speaks constantly with a lot of people in the Fortune 500 world, including executives and CEOs. His estimation is that 50% of Fortune 500 CEOs have clinical depression. And we know that 30% of the college kids in the US are on prescribed medication for depression. If a focus on production and intangible, high quality intangibles, producing high quality intangibles, right? Super tight thoughts, really smart thoughts. I'm super smart. If that is what created economic output, pleasure, stability, it would be creating pleasure and stability. It's not, we have that in spades. At one time it did create stability. We've gotten a lot out of that. All the low-hanging fruit is gone. Most of all the fruit is gone. We need to soften our economy. We need to soften our cities. We need to soften our politics. We need to soften our police forces. We need to soften our military. We need to soften ourselves. There is no other. This is us. It is all us. And we need to consume more than we've ever consumed in our lives. In the Bible, and yes, I read the Bible, in the Bible, Jesus is asked how on earth people can get into heaven if they're rich. Because he says it's harder for a rich man to get into heaven than it is for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle. So he says, oh my gosh, I have money. How can I be saved? He says, give away your money. I'm not going to tell you to give away your money. I'm going to tell you to spend your money. I'm going to tell you to take a year off of work. I'm going to tell you to sit around with your feet up and catch up on Netflix shows that you want to watch. Not that I want you to watch, that you want to watch. I'm going to tell you to read the books you want to read. I'm going to tell you to buy the books you want to read. I'm going to tell you to buy the quality untangibles that you have always wanted to consume, but you deny yourself. You want to shop at Polo, you found the shirt, but you bought the knockoff at J. Crew. Why'd you do that? You don't think you're worth it. You want to stay home and call in sick to work and watch Orange is the New Black for 3 days, and you won't do it. Why is that? You don't think you being happy will make you more valuable. You don't think you being happy will make you more money. Your company and your boss don't think that you being happy and rested will make the company more money. You're afraid, your manager agrees, your boss agrees, the corporation agrees. And you're all wrong. It doesn't matter if you're a conservative or a liberal. Those both have things to offer us. Those both have things to show us. There's no shame in being either one. You can be a creep and be either one. You can, being either one, just being on the planet doesn't guarantee that you're not a creep. Right? You can be a weirdo. You're going to be a different type of weirdo if you're a conservative weirdo. But you can also, we all know plenty of liberal weirdos, liberal creeps. But that's not what you came for. That's just a little sermon from one cult leader to another. What you came for was a discussion about untangibles and reason. Reason. Use your reason to convince us. Make me believe, but make my brain happy that I'm believing. You can believe whatever you want. So last time we ended up with me saying that people are going to pay $6 for songs and $40 for movies and $120 for books. Not all books. There's still going to be cheap books. There's still going to be cheap songs. There's still going to be free social media feeds. It's not everything. They're just like there are cheap cars. You can still buy a Hyundai. Making Ferraris didn't say you can't make a Hyundai. Wearing Prada jeans that cost $600 doesn't mean you can't go down to Old Navy and get a pair for $12. You can. You can get it whatever you want. Starbucks didn't go turn around and say 7-Eleven you can't sell $1, 20-ounce coffee. No, you can still get crap coffee. High quality untangibles just means that there are multiple price points. There are a myriad of price points, a continuum of price points that anyone can buy, that anyone can use, and anyone can plug in. And there's the expectation in the consumer, and this is important because this is what we don't have now, and this is what we didn't have with blue jeans when Gloria Vanderbilt came out. The most important thing is that there's the expectation in the consumer when they go to buy a book or buy a video or buy a movie that there are cheap ones, that there are middle price ones, and that there are expensive ones, and that there are maybe even luxury or ridiculously expensive ones. That there is a mature, sophisticated, graduated marketplace that helps them understand who they are in relation to those types of products. Because right now people do not understand who they are in relation to emotional products. As consumers, we are uneducated. We don't speak that language very well. We all know what brand we go to get blue jeans. We all know what brand we go to get eyeglasses. We know what brands we would start looking at if we wanted health care and so forth and so on. We know what our favorite cars are. We know what our favorite TV shows are. We're not very good at identifying, grouping, and promoting in the market social media personalities, Twitter feeds, even music. People my age looking for music on iTunes is a fool's errand. We don't have the time to go through this. We also don't have 1 million 18 to 25-year-olds on our feed. Often, I do, but often we do not have 1 million 18 to 25-year-olds on our feed suggesting songs in certain genres. So the markets for physical products and intangible services are very well delineated and organized. The market for untangible products, songs, books, movies, etc., is not organized at all. And that's one of the things that a flat price really hurts. Because not only does a film producer say, I have this film, but it would really only serve 50,000 people. So if I was going to make it and still feed my family in 2 years and not go bankrupt, I would have to charge $24 a ticket. Or I would have to charge $60 a ticket. But I know it would be worth that much to all those people. There's no precedent for that. There's literally no way to do that. You would have to create you'd spend so much time marketing that you'd lose your mind. That you would have no time to make a film, or you'd make a horrible film. Because you spent so much time trying to convince people that that market exists. If you were trying, right, when designer blue jeans first came along, Gloria Vanderbilt came along and she sold $80 blue jeans. It took years before there were $200, $400, $800, $1,600 blue jeans, which are commonplace now. You have to expand the market slowly. You have to create consumer awareness about what quality in that sector is. Starbucks started in Seattle, a little place in Pike Place Market where I grew up. And they started convincing people one by one what real coffee, what premium coffee tasted like. And you can argue whether or not you want to if they kept true to their mission or whatever. They're a corporation too. But believe me, if you're in a suburb of, not even a suburb, I'm trying to think of some place there wouldn't be a Starbucks. If you're in a suburb of Istanbul, and you can go to their convenience store and get whatever they have cooking in the little hot pot, or there's a Starbucks next door, and you're a world traveler, you're probably going to go to Starbucks. Because now you understand the market. Now you understand what they're delivering. Now your taste has adjusted. You, 40 years ago, would not have had that taste. The market is becoming full of connoisseurs. And first we become physical connoisseurs, right? We see the lamination on our kitchen counter fall apart when it's done low quality. We see a pair of cheap blue jeans fall apart or cheap shoes fall apart. And we understand very easily what value means, quality means in a physical product because it falls apart. Either works or doesn't. If you have a bad screwdriver and it strips the first time you use it, you go, I'm never buying a $2 screwdriver anymore, and you buy a $12 screwdriver. Done. Game over. Intangible products, design, management, organization, consulting. What are some other good intangible? Branding, coding. It takes a little bit longer to understand since those are really sophisticated products and more sophisticated and harder to understand than a physical product, which either works or doesn't. It's very immediate. It takes a little bit longer to become sophisticated enough to understand what works and what doesn't in that area. But you can do it, and that's what designers are doing. They are learning what design is good and what design is bad, and what colors work and what colors don't, and what line width makes people happy and what line width makes people sad. I mean, that's what a designer is doing. Coders are learning what buttons people push and what buttons people don't. And the market's becoming very sophisticated in that. You see very sophisticated graphic design being used in very high value places. 20 years ago, when I was a graphic designer, you saw pretty bad graphic design in multinational corporations, and a lot of the underground design was wonderful and was really neat. And I had friends of mine who are now have multinational clients, of course, who are doing some really neat stuff, just cheap, $100 flyer that's just like everyone's like hanging on their wall and stuff. But the market now is becoming very sophisticated for design, so we're looking for what's next. And what's next is that people are going to become very sophisticated in cultural products, cultural commodities. What is the baseline of cultural commodities? What are people looking for when they look at culture and songs and so forth? They're looking for meaning. They're not looking for ideas. Ideas have to do with your brain. Meaning encompasses your heart, your spirit, your mind, and your body. Meaning informs more aspects of your being than being smart or intellect does. Right? When you go to college, it doesn't mean that you're happy. You're just getting smarter. You're exercising your brain, and you may even be leveraging or putting your heart on hold for a while so that you can get up your intellectual chops. And that's not a sin. If you got to pay those dues to do what you want, then go pay those dues. We're just coming to a point where people have paid those dues and they're no longer returning rewards. Which is why people like myself, people like my beautiful fiance Koa, people online like Alt Lit, Beta Boys, Matt Farrell, a lot of people, and a lot of them are young and they don't know that they're doing this yet, but they are sharpening their emotional chops They are learning an emotional vocabulary. They're learning emotional skills and spiritual skills. They are learning how to go into very contentious environments, and Facebook is a contentious environment. Twitter is a contentious environment. I can't go on a feed for a minute without seeing a cop shoot somebody, or a multinational destroying the rainforest, or people stealing, or killing, or beating dogs, right? We go into very contentious, disturbing environments, and just like academics go into places that use fuzzy logic and bring intellectual clarity, emotional workers go into emotionally confusing environments and bring emotional clarity. But you don't reward that yet. You do not reward, you not only do you not reward it, you don't value it yet. When someone comes on a thread where people are acting crazy and organizes that thread without deviating from the poster's original thought, brings clarity to the conversation and allows everybody to walk away going, wow. You don't value that. You don't think that's a legitimate career. You don't think that person has brought any value to life. You don't feel that that person has enriched your life. You take it for granted. Now, if I did that with your finances, if I brought clarity to your finances, if I brought clarity to your kitchen, if I reorganized your kitchen, if I cleaned your house, if I brought clarity to your wood floors and your windows, you would pay me. You will not pay me to do the same thing to your emotions and your spirit because you do not value your emotions and your spirit. It has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with me or the value of things that I bring. You do not understand the market. You do not value those aspects of yourself, and consequently, you cannot value my services. And that's okay. I signed up to be a pioneer. I'm not a victim. This is, for whatever reason, this is my gig. I wanted to be the Lee Scratch Perry of Untangibles. I wanted to be the Nikolai Tesla / Edison of dark matter and dark energy. I wanted to be the Jay Adams of Facebook, whatever. That's my cross to bear. That's my thing. But I am not going to let you off the hook just because that's my cross to bear. We're in this together. And if you're watching this, you're getting content for free, and I'm bringing clarity to your emotional life and your spiritual life, and I'm doing it for free, God damn it. So PayPal me some money. THUWIZ at gmail.com. PayPal me $40. I do not have another job. I do this full time. I've been doing it full time for many years. And I give away my produce for free. And then I have to go with my hat in hand, not only begging for money, but convincing my audience what I have done for them. What if the plumber came to your house and had to convince you that you didn't want your toilets running? That you didn't want leaks coming out of your faucet? That's crazy. As a graphic designer, I had to go to companies and convince them that their graphic design sucked and that no one thought they were bringing a luxury product with a budget design. I had to add value to their company, and I had to convince them. I'm not in that field anymore. That's what you're doing. You understand that, and you go, oh, if this company just let me consult for them, or just let me manage this department, or let me run this production line as I wanted to, they'd make twice as much, and it wouldn't matter if they were paying me $100,000 because I could make them $1.4 million a year. But you do not extend that to cultural workers. Not yet. To emotional and spiritual labor. You don't yet. Why? Because when your spiritual or emotional life is in shambles, you go drink a cup of coffee, you go drink a cup of alcohol, you go have a beer, maybe you do some coke, you go see a movie, you ignore it, you go to see a therapist who doesn't help you very much, you get prescribed antidepressants. All of that you value. Those are legitimate ways for you to deal with your unhappiness. Going on Facebook is not a legitimate way for you to deal with your unhappiness. So you think. I'm telling you it is legitimate, but you don't believe me. So I just have a few minutes left here, and I don't want to belabor that stuff. What would an untangible, a world where high quality untangibles are rewarded at market rates, what would that look like? Well, when we switched from having just a tangible economy to a tangible and intangible economy, we went from 1% of the world fed, heated, clothed, powerful, autonomous, to 50% of the world fed, heated, clothed, powerful, autonomous. To get to 100% fed, heated, clothed, powerful, autonomous, we need to include not only the untangible aspect of the economy, but the not tangible. Both emotional labor and spiritual labor we need to reward at market rates. And yes, the Dalai Lama has to set his price. If the Dalai Lama can sit down with somebody for 2 hours and meditate with them, and they're a hedge fund manager, and that person can turn around and make $40 million more that year, then the Dalai Lama has to train people how to do that, and they have to charge $1.2 million per session or whatever. What we get when this happens, and I know this is blasphemy, stick with me and deal with the blasphemy later. What happens when we do this is that we get a world where our spirit is just as strong as our commerce. Right now, people are being destroyed because our commerce is so strong and our spirit, our culture cannot keep up. Once we reward untangibles and not tangibles, spirit, at market rates, you get a culture that is as warm and rewarding as your job is challenging and valuable. You get to go to work, and you'll probably work less because the economy is going to have more cylinders. It's more efficient across the board. There are just as many profits to be made in multinational corporations by making untangibles pay as there are for people sitting around their house doing it DIY. I'll stand by that all day, every day. Corporations are going to make way more money off this because they're organized. Now, new corporations are going to arise. I call them spiritual multinationals. They're going to take this new profit center of premium content, right? Untangible, rich content. And they are going to organize management structures and production teams around it in new ways because creative production has different methods than intellectual production. Different managers, different assembly lines, different methods, different timelines, different values, different culture. They're going to organize new brands, and they're going to beat the pants off of the old brands in terms of ROI. ROI is return on investment. You put in $1,000, you get out $2,000. Now, if the current economy, you put in $1,000 and get out $2,000. In the untangible economy, where these new brands, you're going to put in $1,000 and get back $4,000. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. And it's coming. I don't have to convince anyone. Facebook will get unwieldy enough another year or two. It'll get boring enough. Twitter will become contentious enough that they'll want a way to organize it. They'll want a way to keep high quality producing individuals involved. Because right now they're just going on goodwill and they're just going on volunteering, and that people use Twitter and Facebook as advertising, and eventually people will be like, I'm not advertising. This is what I'm doing is Twitter and Facebook. I'm not advertising, and I'm not going to come to your town and sell you a T-shirt. This is what I'm doing is Twitter and Facebook. I'm on Twitter and Facebook. That's it. I'm making videos. So, And that gets to a beautiful, beautiful world. That gets to that it reverses gentrification. You start to get creatives and freaks and people even coming from the ghetto or from places where they don't have access to college education. And they can earn as much as someone who went to Harvard, right? Right now, my Facebook feed is not people who went to Harvard, videos from people who went to Harvard. It's videos of people twerking. It's kids in Africa dancing that have 12 million views. It's high school kids who are being stupid and funny and dancing and making cat videos, mashups. It's all kinds of stuff. It will give people a way to circumvent college and circumvent, and new colleges will rise up that teach untangibles. So you have both ways. But you'll start to get neighborhoods that have gone to pot through finance and current capitalism, like Manhattan, like downtown Chicago, like downtown Seattle, like San Francisco. Perfect example. People who are creative will start to be able to afford in those neighborhoods anymore. And they will start pushing out the intangible workers. They will start, artists and freaks and weirdos and people who twerk and people who are mystic, guru, cult leader, whatevers, tantric practitioners, will start pushing out the worst coders in San Francisco. They'll start pushing out the worst brokers in Manhattan. They'll start pushing out the worst startup entrepreneurs in Denver, wherever. That's what's going to happen. And it's going to be a beautiful thing. You're going to have freaks and real cowboys in Aspen again. You're going to have writers and lovers and meditators and weirdos in Key Biscayne and the Florida Keys again. We're going to start taking back the most valuable real estate from the most boring people, because the rich people are the most boring people on the planet. God bless you. Culturally, you are stultifying. You are boring. So we are going to meet you and we are going to trade your money for our spirit and creativity. And that's what you need and that's what we need. We need your money. You need our spirit. You can't get it anywhere else. We can't get it anywhere else. Hit me up. I'm on Facebook, message thuwiz@gmail.com. Send me PayPal, send me free money. I do this for life. I love you. Untangible revolution is coming. Be ready for it. Don't yell at your kids for being creative and being freaks. They're going to make more money than you ever imagined. Don't transmit your fears. Love, baby. Use that love, love, love. Deuces.